Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review, results, reactions, whatever you want to call it, of NXT Vengeance Day 2024. A couple little quick facts about this show. Every single match went over 10 minutes, and none of them went longer than 20, so we have a very balanced card in terms of length. This show had a total of 6 matches on it. I will run through them quickly in the order that they took place. So, first up, we have Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. We also have Joe Gacy versus Dijak in a no disqualification match. A mixed 6-person tag between The Family versus OTM. An NXT Women's title match between Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez. An NXT North American title match between Obafemi and Dragon Lee. And lastly, the NXT title match between Ilya Dragunov and Trick Williams. This show is a very solid show, and I enjoyed every single match I saw, but let's just look at what happened and where I think these people will be going after this show is over, which it already is. So let's first up look at the final of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic between Baron and Braun versus Mello and Trick. This is a very match, but it's also astounding at the same time. There's parts of it that you're like, okay, yep, this is, normal wrestling, okay, yep, and then there's parts where like, oh my gosh, Omega Okada, goodness gracious. So it's a very well blended show, and show as a whole, and this match specifically. There's an interesting spot where Braun is running the ropes as he does, and as he's running the ropes, he's running as quick as he does, and he gets his head caught and like bounces between the ropes. He's fine. He bleeds, but he seems okay, and he's able to fully work the rest of the match, so props to him. The main part of this match comes at the very end. Trick Williams is about to get speared by Braun Breaker. So Braun's setting up in the corner, and Trick's over here. Braun runs in for the spear. But Mello, he comes in, he pushes Trick out the way, saves him, but Mello takes the spear. And Mello, even while not being the legal competitor, gets pinned by Braun. But the problem is, like, you would think, oh, so Trick, maybe he was like dazed or didn't realize there's a pin going on, so that's why he didn't stop it, right? Oh no. So Mello, obviously, because he's getting speared, he's like, oh no, and he takes the spear. But Trick, after just being pushed out of the way, he's like, what the? And he sees Mello get speared, and he's like, ugh! And falls over and out of the ring. So he's just not there, and he's like, oh no, oh man, oh shucks. And that's the end of the match. Later we'll see a backstage segment where Mello's like, oh man, I didn't want you taking that spear, man. And, Trick's sitting there, why? We could have won. Well, you got to be fresh for your match with Ilya at that main event. Drake's like, yeah. Then they continue. Next up is the no disqualification match, my favorite match of the night, between Joe Gacy and Dijak. There are a lot of highlights to this match. I'm going to go over the big three, I'd say. So Joe's on the ground. He's got a trash can over him. And Dijak's, he's kicking him on the ground. Loser. And then Dijak, he kind of picks Joe Gacy up. Joe's kind of standing there stunned in the trash can. He runs to bounce off the rope and attack Joe. But Joe has just leapt at him with the trash can and just knocked him out. Like, you need to go watch this on like Twitter or YouTube, wherever you can find it. But Joe, completely blind, just goes boom, and knocks him out. Speaking of completely blind attacks, Dijak, a little later in the match, gets duct tape over his eyes, and he can't see either. But he's able to kind of figure out where Joe is, so when Joe goes for a move, he's able to pick him up and get his finisher off, which is called the... I don't remember what it's called. I'm annoyed at myself that I don't remember what it's called. It's something about sight. But basically, it's the same setup as a KOD, Bianca Belair's KOD. It's a setup like this, and then he flips him over. It's basically a KOD GTS. It's the best way to put how this move looks. Like, you got him set up, they go over, GTS, and then they're done. Again, I really blanking on what it's called right now. Brain fart. But that does win the match for Dijak at the very end. Joe's smiling. It's basically the same thing that happened at the end of Liv Morgan's match with Ronda Rousey when she's getting submitted, but she's sitting there like, and then she goes out. It's basically that, but Joe, because his whole character is I'm literally insane, he makes it work way better than Liv did. No Liv slander, but whatever. The only other major spot that happens during this match is Dijak, he's on the ring apron, and he's trying to do what AJ Styles does before he does a phenomenal form. He's trying to, like, jump onto the top rope. But Joe Gacy, he's awake suddenly and pushes him off the top rope. And he falls all the way back onto a table that was set up earlier in the match that had toys, like, your little toy soldiers, some toy cars, stuff like that, set up on it. And instead of going, back first through the table, like if this is the table, generally you'd land like this. But instead he lands all on his elbow and then leans into the table, and then it breaks on one side. It still looks really good, but later in the match, he posted a picture on Instagram of his elbow, and it looked very bruised, and it was bleeding for the rest of the match. Very good. Again, my personal favorite match of the night. Good wrestling. Then there was a 6-person tag team match. Nothing really to talk about here. It's a very average 6-person tag team match. It's the family winning, which I got the previous match correct, and I got this match correct, 3-0. And it's just there. It didn't end with the women, as I predicted, but it did show out for the women. They didn't look astounding, but they look good enough. Meh, whatever. I have nothing really to speak on for this. Then there was the NXT Women's title match between Lyra and Roxanne. This one was all right. I actually really did enjoy seeing the chemistry of this match. Because going in, you were like, Lyra shouldn't really lose her title, and Roxanne's kind of hot right now, so you can't really let her lose either. So what do? Lola Vice cashes in her breakout opportunity. So I believe Roxanne has just hit her finisher, Pop Rocks. It's a version of a Canadian destroyer. Bang. And she's standing there dazed. Lola Vice's music hit. Whatever it is. She's like, oh yeah, let's go. I'm cashing in. And the ref is competent this time. Because he's like, oh, you want to cash in? Okay. Here you go. Wait, get that guy for Money in the Bank cash-ins. Get that guy specifically. But nonetheless, she comes in. She really kind of dominates the rest of the match. Like, the others get a few pieces of offense in, but until the end, it's all Lola Vice. She does her little, I'm a Latina, and then hits people with her ass. She does her finisher a couple times, gets broken up or kicked out of. And then comes the end. Roxanne hits Pop Rocks again on Lyra. So she does her move, Pop Rocks, Lyra's stunned in the corner. Lola comes in, tries to hit her finishing move. It's basically a spinning heel kick. Roxanne dodges it, tries to do her finisher again, I think. But then they kind of fall apart somehow. And Roxanne hits her finisher again on Lola. Bang, finisher done. Lola's stunned. And then Lyra comes back, somehow got this energy, throws Roxanne out of the ring, goes over to Lola, hits her finisher. I don't remember what it's called. It's called like Last Night or something. It's basically, you're up for, how do I describe it? It's basically a one-winged angel with 0 wings. It's just this, down. That move gets Lyra the win. She retains her title, keeps Roxanne looking strong because she didn't get pinned. Very well booked match. Good job, Sean. So I enjoyed this match. I didn't expect the triple threat coming into it. However, I did predict this one correctly. I did predict Lyra to retain 4-0. But overall, really good match. You can go rewatch this whole show, really. I would specifically, if you want to rewatch this show, I recommend you look at the no disqualification match, the main event, and this match. Next up is the North American title match. This one is really the easiest prediction of them all. 5-0 now. Oba, Femi, and Dragon Lee. There's no chance Oba is losing this match. It's kind of weird, though, because, Oba does his thing. He dominates at the beginning. Like, who's my biggest one? Brock. Okay. So, if you got big, small, Oba dominates. He throws him around. Boom. Beats him up. And then Dragon comes back. He hits a couple of flippy moves, DDT, Hurricane Rana, moves like that. and dominates the whole match. Like, from here on out, it's just Dragon Lee. Like, Dragon's beating him up, and then Oba's able to get some offense, and he pushes him back. He looks to hit, some sort of suplex, but Dragon's countering everything, so he can't hit any of his big moves. The turning point comes near the end of the match. Let's use my ring again. So, Dragon, I don't know how to set this up correctly. That's as best as I'm going to get, probably. However, so Dragon, he's here on the ring apron. He's looking to dive off of the ring apron onto Oba. However, Oba is ready and does that thing he did against Riley Osborne a couple weeks ago and just wallops him in the chest. Knocks Dragon Lee, out. Hits a couple more moves on him. He does basically a last ride on the inside of the ring and wins the match, retaining his title. This was a very predictable match. There were a few moments where I was like, but I was like, in my head, I knew there's no chance Dragon Lee wins this match. And that is what happened. He did not win the match. However, it was a good showing for both men involved. It made Dragon look relatively strong. He did all this against such a dominant champ. And then eventually, when Oba continues to be North American champion for so much longer, as he should be, people will be like, oh man, Dragon Lee held his own against that guy. Wow. That's what they should have done, for example, when Ricochet fought Brock Lesnar. I think Super Showdown 2019 or something. That's what they should have done. This match is exactly what they should have done. Just put them in as the respective roles. Nonetheless, it was a good match, and the whole show has been amazing up to this point. The 6-person tag lowered it a little. However, overall, really good. And then get to the main events, which I didn't watch. Didn't watch the main event, so I can't really commentate on this. However, I did see the end of this match, so I can describe all of that to you. And from what I've heard, this is an amazing match as well. This is not the best match I've ever seen from the clips I've seen on Twitter. However, it's still pretty good. The best near fall of this match by a wide margin. Ilya is kind of dazed. Ilya looks more like this guy, Cody. He's kind of dazed. Trick does his finisher. I think it's called the trick kick. He kicks him. Oh man, it's a 3. It's a 3. Well, it's not necessarily a near fall, but nonetheless, 1, 2. Where's the ref? A little bit earlier, Mello was distracting the ref, like, hey man, see, Ilya did something wrong. I don't know what it was. And then Ilya pushed Trick into the ref, into Carmelo. And then the ref was, all dazed on the outside of the ring, so he can't count the pin. And Trick's sitting there. Oh. But the end of the match comes. It's pretty good. Both men are very dazed to this point. Trick's been bleeding from the mouth through the whole match, basically, because he bleeds instantly in this match, like Ilya every match and Mox. However, they're both dazed over here. As Trick goes to hit his knee, I don't know what it's called, but it's basically just Daniel Bryan's running knee. Ilya just turns it into an H-bomb and just hits the H-bomb. Trick is, knocks Trick out. Ilya's like, go, covers him, and retains his title. I went undefeated during this pay-per-view. Because of what Mello does in a few moments, I proudly take the title of him for going 6-0. Originally, if I didn't do well on this record and Mello did turn, I was going to count that as one, so I would have a slightly better record. If I went 3-3, and since I predicted Mello to turn, I would have made myself go 4-3. And just for the sake of it, I'm 7-0. I'm him. I am him. Undisputed. That deserves a subscribe, right? Gotta plug the channel. Of course I do. Fun fact, in my Latin classroom, I have my channel plugged on the whiteboard because my teacher hasn't noticed it yet. Anyways, this is a really good match, but the ending, obviously, is the GOAT. So, Trick sitting there in the ring, he's like, no. And throughout the whole match, Ilya has been working Trick's left knee. And there's a spot even earlier on where Ilya is kind of yapping at Mello, and Mello tries to throw a strike at him, but he misses, and Ilya pushes Mello, and he hits Trick's knee. And Trick's sitting there, but he realizes, Ilya pushed him. That wasn't, his, whatever, right? Somehow the ref who's right there doesn't call this a DQ. He's like, okay, and doesn't really care. However, the end of the show. Trick's looking on at Ilya. He's like, oh, man. My knee hurts. He's looking away this way. And Mello is right behind him. And he attacks the left knee of Trick. Gets a chair. Bam, bam, bam. And I noticed this also on Twitter. If you look back to when Trick originally got injured, he got hurt with a chair, which Mello immediately threw away because it may have been evidence. Mello was wearing the exact same clothing as he was wearing today, or yesterday at this point, when he turns on Trick as he was when he supposedly didn't attack Trick. He's wearing the same clothing that Shawn Michaels was when he turned on Marty Jannetty in the barbershop. Storytelling at its finest. Good job, Shawn. Very good showing. Again, undefeated, so I know how Shawn books things. However, I think this show out of a 10 ranking would be an 8.7. I really enjoyed this show. The 6-man was just kind of meh, whatever, but everything else was very good, very well done, especially that no DQ match, still the highlight of the night for me. What will Melo say Tuesday? I don't know. He's probably going to give some stupid excuse and people are going to boo him. However, Raw is coming on soon today, and I have to go record some shorts recording what happens on Raw so I can get views on shorts. You see, I'm going to let you in on a YouTube insider secret as a professional YouTuber myself at almost 100 subscribers at this point. Let's try and reach that mark, by the way. When I watch weekly shows like Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, whatever, I record clips of important things that happen. Like when Seth Rollins walked out with his knee brace a couple weeks back, I recorded that thinking, oh, people want to know what's going on with Seth. So I'll record this and I'll get views from it. And guess what happened? I got views from it. I got 4 subs from that video. It's just logic, guys. Nonetheless, I'm just yapping at this point. Thank you for watching. Make sure to watch some of my previous videos. I talk about predictions all the time. You can see how poorly I've done and how well I've done in the past. I also rank a lot of things, so be sure to check that out whenever you want. Make sure to have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, good whatever. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.